Stay the fuck out of nigga lane. Hey, don't swear, hey, don't swear.
All right. Here we go. Officially, episode 4. We are back with another one. I'm Darius.
He's back.
I'm Darius. I'm here with my cousin Jimmie. What's up, Jimmie? How you feeling? How you living?
I'm feeling good, man. Living good on a Sunday, fun day. You know, we up early with it, doing our thing. How you feeling, cuz?
Yes, sir. I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling good. Had a long week of being sick, but I'm definitely feeling a lot better. And all I got to say is, man, we blessed. We blessed to be here, blessed to see another day, blessed to give them another one. So what we got today? We got some good topics, man. What we got on the agenda today?
Man, we got a lot. We're going to start off with a juicy appetizer. It's only right. We're going to start off with the Titans tackle, part 2. To be continued. So this is part 2. We're going to speak on all the important players in the NFL and their positions. Typically, we're going to start with the quarterbacks. Hopefully, we both do. We'll see. And from there, we'll segue into KD, Kyrie. Talk about the Brooklyn Nets. You see, KD's back. He's saying, I'll stay put. We'll run it back. And Kyrie was like, I'm gonna do what y'all been asking me to do. And they're gonna play together, and we're gonna see what their championship aspirations are, where they're looking like in the East. Then from there, we'll talk about some primetime situations, primetime players. We're gonna talk about players that are in their prime and they peak. We're gonna define it first, because a lot of times that can, go out the window. But we're gonna speak on that, and then from there, we'll also talk about our favorite, a little fan taste, get a little glimpse of what we like, you know what I'm saying? And then from there, we'll end it off, cap it off with what teams need. What teams need in the NFL. We're talking contenders and teams in the middle of the pack, maybe potentially at the end of the road. We'll see. We'll top it up and decide where they are, on what side of the totem pole. So from there, you ready to get it?
Let's get it, man. Let's get it.
Let's go. I want you to start it off, man. You was defending your guys, the tackles. Let me hear you defend them again, man. What's up?
Yeah, for sure, man. Last episode, I had to look at you a little crazy because you told me this is your personal opinion. So,
for sure.
Totally understand. Your personal opinion was that, you valued the tight end position a lot more than the left tackle position. And I personally think that's incorrect. The reason is we all can agree that the number one most important position on the football field is the quarterback position. This is the reason why we draft. You see 4 or 5 quarterbacks go in the first round just about every single year except this past year, right? And we're not going to talk about Malik Willis actually lighting up the preseason right now, man. He's looking real good.
Great point.
Even Desmond Ridder's looking good. 3rd round draft picks, but hey, we're going to see what they can do. But this is the reason why when you're a bad football team, is typically on the quarterback position, right? We always look at the quarterback first because there's only one that can play. So if we got to replace a guy, then you got to replace him, right? So that's the face of the franchise right there, the quarterback. Number 2 is the edge rush. These quarterbacks nowadays are throwing 40 to 50 times per game. We are not in a running league anymore. This is a quarterback winning league at this point. We don't have the Earl Campbells anymore. We don't have the Jim Browns. We don't have these guys that are carrying the ball 300 plus times consistently every single year, putting up amazing numbers like these guys used to do back in the day. So what do you got?
We have Lamar Jackson running the ball, and there's a dual threat, which is
we are in a dual threat era. That is correct, but that is beside the point. And when I say that's besides the point is, again, we like Christian McCaffrey, but battling injuries the last 2 years, and he's not a consistent. He's an offensive threat. So he could beat you in the passing game. He could beat you in the run game. But I'm not giving him the ball 350 times, and he's a pound for pound every down back that can stay healthy, right? We saw the decline. We're seeing a decline in Ezekiel Elliott, who I thought personally will be a Hall of Famer one day. And you never know. He's still young. He's only 27 years old. If he can flip a switch and turn around a little bit, he can pull out a 10,000 plus and 70, 80 touchdown career and possibly get himself into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Possibly. Mm-hmm. Derrick Henry is a guy that you would say that's one of those bruisers that I'm giving the ball 350, 400 times per year. Well, I would say 350. 400 is a lot. But 350 times a year. But again, now he's starting to battle injury. Let's see where that goes from here. So what do we have to do? We have to get to the edge rush, right? What are my edge guys looking for? They're looking to get your prized possession. They're looking to take out your best player, right? So that's why these guys are the second highest paid player on the team at this point, is because we got to get to the quarterback. How are we going to get to the quarterback? Myles Garrett, the Bosa brothers, the Watt brothers, right? I then go to the tackle position as number 3. How are we going to protect our prized possession? How are we going to protect the face of the franchise? I.e., you say give Tua a chance, right? He didn't have. He's had one of the worst O-lines since he's been in the league, right?
Right.
So they bring in Tyron Armstrong or Armstead. Let's see if that helps, right?
Right.
We protect Tom Brady. We protect Aaron Rodgers. We protect Patrick Mahomes. You saw what happened to Patrick Mahomes in that Super Bowl loss, right?
See, I do.
And don't get me wrong, the Bucs did have a really good defensive front seven that was dominating the league. But you saw when both his tackles go out, what happens to Patrick Mahomes, right? And that'll happen to any quarterback, i.e. Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan has put up amazing numbers in his career, right? Great numbers, I should say. Great numbers in his career. But consistently, the Falcons have not been able to protect him for the last 3 years.
True.
So that is the reason why you go out and get these tackles, because now it's all about the pass rush. What interior defensive lineman can I get to the football? What edge rush can I get to the football? Just like quarterbacks are drafted high in the draft, edge rushers are just as high on a player's draft list than any other position.
You want to put pressure on the quarterback. It's very important. But you're given, as important as a quarterback is in this area, there's a lot of positions that are closer to the importance of a quarterback, because a quarterback depends on these weapons differently, because these weapons can be used differently. When you have a tight end who can do multiple things, when you have a receiver who can do multiple things to help your quarterback, as much as we talk about Tua's help, we also talk about the acquisition of Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle last year. Like, the weapons matter just as much as the quarterback. Just a good quarterback and great line isn't going to get you as far as great weapons. You look at the Vikings. They haven't had a line in a long time. But them weapons, no matter Rudolph, when he was when I say like that, top 10 type of tight end, him with Thielen was nice. Jefferson, Thielen, nice. These weapons, a tackle's position and an edge rusher can only do but so much. And when you have a quarterback who's athletic, when you have a quarterback who can run the ball like one of the best running backs of all time, but also throw it, it gives you a different dimension than just running it 350 times. When the threat of a run is there while also dropping back, that's a different type of game. That's something that edge rushers, obviously you need edge rushers, but just an edge rusher isn't going to be able to contain. You need somebody in the middle. You need linebackers. There's a lot of different things you need to counter that. But the fact that you have a mobile threat who can throw the ball is a different type of counter, on top of someone who's willing to get the ball off their hands quick. Drew Brees, Tom Brady. When we talk about quarterbacks, there's different type of quarterbacks, even more so today. So that edge rusher isn't as important because there are counters to that edge rusher.
i.e. the edge rusher, right? Besides a sideline to sideline linebacker. I could find a sideline to sideline linebacker. There are
In this era,
there
yes.
are plenty of linebackers that can do a decent job of stopping a Lamar Jackson, Deion Jones, right? When Deion Jones is healthy, he's averaging 140 tackles a year.
You said there's a solid amount of linebackers that can stop Lamar
The
Jackson.
linebacker position is another one that's kind of like there's a lot of them, right? Anyone's pretty much a plug and play guy.
Are there as many great linebackers as there are? Nobody's Lamar Jackson for one. In this era, why we give Lamar so much praise is because he's making people miss when the linebacker era, as far as speed and agility, is at an all-time high. Lamar's making these guys miss too. If any era, I agree, this is the linebacker era that you want to plug and play out, pull out this era to face Lamar Jackson. But that don't mean they're able to stop or keep up with Lamar Jackson. There's a contained.
The NFL is a totally different ballgame. We talk about grown men right here. This is a man's game. This is the reason why 18 and 19 and 20-year-old kids typically don't play in the NFL. This is a man's game. When you talk about speed in the NFL,
won an MVP.
I get that, but this is why I get the edge rusher. The edge rusher can also be my contain guy. Can also be a good pursuit guy. He can not only get to the quarterback, but I can also put a scheme together to also stop Lamar Jackson, i.e. Jadeveon Clowney. He isn't the pass rushing threat as far as sacks, but he's a great run stopping edge defender.
I'm glad you said run stopping because that's more important in the playoffs. Since the dawn of the NFL,
I get
dawn
that
of football.
because in the playoffs you want to be a little bit more balanced and you want to be more balanced than do what you do best. So if you run the football best, you got to have a passing game to kind of complement that. If you pass the ball more, you have to have a balance of run to kind of because at that point in the season everyone knows what you're doing, right? This is why schemes are important. So that's why the edge rush is number 2 on my list because it's so versatile. So I can keep a guy to contain. I want a guy that can also pass rush. I also want a guy that can run stop as well. We are playing in a faster league where a lot of zone running, everyone's trying to get to the outside. It's no more down the middle, pound for pound. There's not many teams that are really doing that besides maybe the Titans, the Steelers, maybe the Seahawks, right? But everyone else has a pretty versatile running back on their team that can kind of do both, right? The Bengals, they're getting Joe Mixon more involved in the passing game. Dalvin Cook can be just as effective in the pass game as well as running the football. Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara, I can go on and on about this, right? But this is why the edge rush is so important. Because you can do a lot of things with the edge. So that's why it's number 2. Number 3, I got to protect the prize. That's why the left tackle is at number 3. Corner is number 4 because corner is one of the hardest positions to play in football. If I can get a guy that can take out your best receiver, I'm happy. That's what I want, i.e. a Jalen Ramsey, i.e. a Jair Alexander, AJ Terrell. I don't care what anyone says. I'm going to keep saying his name. This is why you get those guys just like that. And then at number 5, I go with the D-line position, so the interior defensive line, because just as well as I also want an Aaron Donald that can go out and give me 18 sacks from an interior defensive lineman, which is 10 times harder, right? So that's why I then go with the interior D-line. And also I need a guy that can stop the run. And then everything else kind of trickles in after that. So the pass catchers will be number 6 because I need playmakers to bring my offense down the field, right? And everything else can kind of trickle in after that. I don't care what order you put them in. Running back is probably the least important position on the football field, besides a kicker.
I can't believe you said that kickers thing last. That's crazy. We're talking about one of the only positions to religiously put points on the board, to be able to flip the field, to be able to kick the ball from 60 yards out. So we're talking about range. We're talking about being in the red zone, this, that, and the third. There's only certain teams that can score from 60 yards out. It's very hard to do that. And some kickers are doing that religiously nowadays, 50 yards out. You're talking about a position where the quarterback, receiver, and the kicker flip the field. Nobody else can do that. Unless you're picking the ball off and running it back, which is rare. So, but anyway, we're going to get into them quarterbacks. The quarterbacks are first, I agree. From there, I really go staff. The staff, more so than any other player you name besides the quarterback, dictates the pace and putting players in position to win more so than any other position. But I'm not going to speak on them too much. From there, I go safeties. You want to talk about versatilities? Get out of there with them edge rushers. Versatility is truly with them safeties. The safeties is the most versatile position in the game. You don't want to talk about space, something that you talk about with corners. Safeties do that. You want to talk about bang with the big boys. You want to talk about filling the gap, setting the edge like an edge rusher. Safeties do that as well. Just like a linebacker, they have the responsibility of a linebacker as well as a cornerback. They bang with the athletic dudes and they bang with the big boys in different ways. They're assigned to the tight end, the running back out the backfield, as well as the receiver. They're assigned to contain Lamar Jackson if he does pull the ball and run. A different dynamic than we've ever seen before. Safeties are responsible for that as well. From there, I go to another dynamic, versatile position, the tight end position. Guys who can bang with the big boys again with the tackles, but he also can do skillful things like footwork and agility, catching the ball, dunking on somebody in the end zone, something a tackle could never do because he's not eligible to catch the ball.
There, I'm gonna stop you right there. How many great tight ends are effectively changing the win scale, or effectively changing the win scale on their team? Go ahead and answer that for me.
Multiple. We can go NFL history: Shannon Sharp, Tony Gonzalez, Tony Gates,
Gonzalez, and Antonio Gates. It doesn't. They're stats. Those are stat guys. They're great players that put up really good numbers. They didn't win any championships. We talked about this.
Most players that come through the NFL don't win a championship.
I understand that, and that's and when you have a guy like an Orlando Pace that can help you win a championship at the left tackle position, Andrew Whitworth, who's played in this league for many years.
How many stars has he played with? How many stars? And when I say stars, a star that can do what a tight end does. Just because he didn't have a star tight end doesn't mean star tight ends aren't valuable. Like, understand, Tony Gonzalez is one of the best football players to ever play, regardless if he won a championship or not. Rob Gronkowski, yes, he has championships behind his name. In any sport, just because you don't win a championship, don't mean you're great. We don't question your greatness because you don't win a championship. Yeah, but it's about your situation.
Okay, so why do we talk about Rob Gronkowski and Travis Kelce and Shannon Sharp or Mike Ditka before we talk about Tony Gonzalez and Antonio Gates might be one of the most slept on tight ends of history because no one even talks about this guy. But because he put up so many numbers and he doesn't have the wins to go with it, just like LaDainian Tomlinson. Like, LaDainian Tomlinson is one of my favorite running backs of all time, but again, he didn't win. Just like, why do you think Phillip Rivers doesn't get to talk about that he possibly should? Because he played in the era with Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and Drew Brees. And Eli, who won 2 championships.
Right, but we're not talking about someone's greatness. We're talking about the greatness of a position, and you can't value versatility when you're only forced to do one thing. It's hard to open your mind when you're looking at a tackle or most positions in the NFL where they only have to do one thing, and they're great at that one thing. Sometimes it's great to be a Swiss Army knife. Someone who's able to do something that a linebacker's doing, maybe not great but good. Something that a corner's doing, maybe not great, but good. So now you're interchangeable, regardless of the scheme, regardless of the coach, regardless of who's on your side, tight end, receiver. These are different skill sets that matter in football. Tight ends are more valuable than a receiver because they bring a different dimension to the game. They bring a bigger body. It's harder to match up with a tight end. Match up with someone who's 250, 280, whatever, but also running a 4.5, 4.4, 4.6, 4. Like that's not hard, that's not easy to do from a defensive perspective. So it's not all about wins and losses when it comes to these certain positions, because we can look at both sides. There's a lot of quarterbacks who didn't win anything, but that are great. Aaron Rodgers is 1-1. There's multiple people who have won way more than one championship, but we give Aaron Rodgers GOAT status. We give him GOAT conversation. Like, it's not about the wins and the loss scale, especially in football, because your situation matters more than anything. From the tight end position, I go to centers. You talk about tackles first, I'll talk about centers. I want to talk about someone who's touching the ball every single play, someone who could potentially fumble and cost us certain things. Ask Peyton Manning, ask Cam Newton. Like the center position, ask a botched snap when it comes to a field goal at the end of the game. There's so many different things the center has to do, a long snapper has to do, that directly affects the game more so than the tackle. The tackle has to wait on others to do their job before they do theirs.
No,
not saying that their job is not important. The center has to snap the ball before the tackle does anything.
Typically in football, you do your job. So a tackle position, they know what they need to do, protect the edge.
Well, right, but what I'm speaking on is the fact that the center is responsible for doing more than just protecting the edge. The center is responsible for potentially pulling more so than a guard, depending on the scheme, snapping the ball, and then eyeing up bigger or multiple defenders. Like you can flood the edge if you want, but they're typically flooding the A gaps. Maybe two linebackers are there as opposed to just Aaron Donald or Via Veda or Fletcher Cox. And their responsibility is to me vastly important, because you're talking about the easiest way to get more yards, which is upfield. And the upfield straight ahead is the center. So behind the center tail is where more yards can occur in a quicker fashion. So if I run straight, I'm potentially going to get more yards in a quicker fashion. If I have an edge rush over here and I'm trying to run away from the edge rusher, so that means I have a better opportunity to get more yards if I'm running straight. Or I could decide to run to the other edge because the dynamic edge rushers is on one side of the field, as opposed to a dynamic interior force being in the middle. The person at the center is head up on. If you choose to run away from Aaron Donald, Via Veda, Fletcher Cox, Chris Jones, you're taking a longer route upfield. That's an advantage in scheme, just because they're on the field, regardless if you double team them or not, regardless if you have another way after the play starts. We're talking about positions that affect the game before the play starts. We're talking about centers who affect the game before anyone does anything, before anybody makes a step. The center can have a false start. The center cannot communicate in a way before the play starts that can hinder the offensive line or the whole offensive unit. We have to give more credit to the center position. And before I get to go ahead.
I get what you're saying. I think the way you're looking at it is, and I might be wrong, so let me know if I'm wrong, but I think the way you're looking at it is not really importance. It's really harder. Of the position group, those are harder to play. So, and what I mean by that is they're the quarterbacks of their position group. The center lets the O-line and calls the play on the offensive line as far as the blocking scheme, right? He's the quarterback of the O-line, right? So that's the guy that has to really know and analyze the defense more so than any other position on the O-line. It's just like a safety. A safety is the quarterback of the defense, just like the middle linebacker is, right? Because those are the guys that's calling the plays as far as the coverage and the blitz scheme or the D line, what the D line's doing. A linebacker has to know all of that stuff. There is a reason why left tackles, I should say, mainly tackles, are drafted more in the top 10 than a center ever was.
Because this is the more durable position.
No, it's not.
It is.
It's because it's a more.
You're in the trenches if you're a center.
Okay, so why didn't I think his name is Linderbaum? Why didn't he go before Evan Neal? Why didn't he go? Why didn't
maybe team need?
No, because the tackle position is more important than the center position. Don't get me wrong. Linderbaum is gonna be a just like Creed Humphreys from Kansas City. Kansas City. He's a really good offensive lineman. Was drafted not this year but last year, right? Already an All-Pro O lineman in this league. Why did he go in the second round when he was projected to be a first-round draft pick? Why did Linderbaum drop until the 20-something pick to go to the Ravens when he was a top 15 player? Because teams don't need centers. Teams aren't looking for centers as much as they are looking for the tackle position because they got to protect the edge rush. There is a reason for it.
No, it's because it's harder to find edge rushers, so they're going to try to find that in the draft. And then also the center position is something just like the kicker position. You're not going to draft the kicker typically because you have your kicker position already intact. It's something that you think about first that you don't have to worry about. Your center position it's very similar. As far as the center and the kicker position, especially, you are going to make sure that they already have a center and the kicker. Every time down, if we score, we have to kick the ball. Every time it's time to snap the ball, we have to snap the ball. The center's position. The center's responsibility is that. The kicker's responsibility is that. So when you talk about why don't they draft a left tackle instead of this, that, and third? Again, that position typically is already handled. Like, I understand you're talking about the edge rusher and how it affected the game because you're right. If you asked me this 5-10 years ago, the edge rusher would be a lot higher.
It's still high.
But you're asking me. So when you're asking me, I view the game differently. I see guys who changed the game. Yes, in basketball, big man used to be way more important.
Yeah.
Certain people changed the game. And people used to give pushbacks to Steph Curry. People used to give pushback to Michael Jordan. People used to give pushback to Kobe Bryant. People used to give pushback to LeBron James. We're giving pushback to Lamar Jackson right now, Patrick Mahomes right now, Tom Brady right now, because Tom Brady is a part of the reason why we know that interior forces affect the game more so than an edge rusher. Tom Brady, it don't matter. Joey Bosa, try again. You got to be quicker than that. But with an interior force, he don't have to be quick or not. He can get in your face and affect your vision. And a pressure is just as important to me as a sack because the pressure affects the back end too. Without, the play ain't over, obviously. The sack ends the play, but a pressure is important as well, especially if you could do it often. And the interior force is getting the vision of a quarterback. And great quarterbacks, we're talking about quarterbacks in general, great or not. It's easier to throw it in front of you than it is outside those numbers. It's easier to throw in the middle of the field than it is outside those numbers. And if the interior force is in your face, making it harder to make the easiest throw, it makes your job a lot harder. From the kickers, I go interior pass rusher, interior rusher force. And then I go corner. From corner, I go to receiver. The corner is guarding the receiver, one of the most or the best athlete I feel in the game, a position where you can flip the field. So I have to make sure my corner is like that so that they don't flip the field in an easy manner. From corner, I go receiver. From receiver, I go edge rusher. That's when I believe the edge rusher comes in there. And I spoke on the edge rusher and what I believe their importance is. After the edge rusher, I go tackle. Wow. Because there's a lot of different things I can do to help my tackle out. The tackle can be helped out. The whole line can be helped out by a tight end, one of the most versatile positions in the game again. Chip block, or maybe sometimes the DN, you want to talk about a versatile DN or versatile edge rusher, because it could be outside linebacker as well. They have the responsibility of sometimes guarding a tight end. And I'm taking that tight end on the perimeter day and night over that edge rusher on the perimeter. It's not just about what you can do when you're great, but what you can do when you're not in the most ideal situation. And the tight end is going to take advantage of that because he's a Swiss Army knife. He can do it both. And the edge rusher cannot as much in my estimation. From edge rusher, I go tackle. From tackle, I go linebackers, guards, running backs.
All right. All right. Man, that was very, very different. Very different on both sides. But, I like your reasons for it. Even though we don't agree, we're gonna agree to disagree, and we're going to get to the next.
We got to do that
topic.
sometimes. For sure. So, right, agree to disagree. We're going to go to this guy, KD. He likes to agree to disagree a lot, too. And I love that about him. It's good to have a little, little tension in the room, a little, good conversation, a little, good topics back and forth. KD's that guy. He'll chop it up on Twitter with you. And Kyrie's a different guy, too. And they're coming back together. They're going to run it back in Brooklyn. And we're going to talk about their championship aspiration. What they're going to do this year. Are they going to be able to challenge Boston in a real way this year? Are they going to be able to hang with them Bucks with Chris Middleton back? What you think?
Yeah, this team finished 7th last year in the East. We always talk about the East to the least. But they had a lot of drama going on. They had the Kyrie saga. He only played 29 games. They had the James Harden issues, right? Kyrie's not gonna, do this, that, and the third. I don't want to play here. Give me the Philly. KD was kind of just caught in the middle, like, hey, I came to Brooklyn. We were supposed to do this. We have, all these players. Man, I just want to hoop. Then you had Ben Simmons come in. He's still hurt, still dealing with the mental aspect of the game. I hope he can get his mentals right, because when this guy is right, he can do it. He can do just about everything besides shoot. And I can accept that, right?
Yeah.
I think with them finally buying in, it's go time. You got the best dribbler in the NBA at this time in Kyrie Irving.
Ever.
Who calls his skill set an art, and I love it because it is. And he can get to the basket. He can shoot the mid range. He can shoot the three. He can score from anywhere on the court. Offensively, is a really good offensive threat in this league. KD, one of the and besides, he is an NBA champion as well, and Kyrie Irving. KD, one of the best players of our generations, one of the best scorers of all time, the 7-foot assassin that can score from anywhere on the court as well. He's ready to hoop. You see them already hooping during the summer. They're locking in. You bring in a guy that can defend on both sides, that can facilitate like no other. I see him as like Magic Johnson-esque if he takes his game to another level. But he can be. Potentially he can be there. He's 6'11", can dribble the ball like a guard, can defend 1 through 4, right? 1 through 4, maybe 5, depending on the size of the player, because I still think he can't go with Embiid. But
that's only one guy.
Yeah, that is.
Talking about so many centers. Most nights, Ben Simmons is guarding 1 through 5.
Exactly. So you're talking about an all-star guard / forward that can play both ends of the court, and that is with these two top-notch scorers on this team. My issue with this team is leadership and depth. KD, unfortunately, has never been a leader in the NBA, because anytime he gets the blame, he deflects or he runs. But it's okay. It's okay, because remember, Russell Westbrook got the blame in OKC. Remember, Steph was still getting the shine in Golden State. It was still Steph's team. Steph still got the glory. Even though KD took them over the edge, KD gave them another step. He saved that team from LeBron. Steph still got all the glory.
Kyrie.
Yeah, Steph still got all the glory, right? They asked KD to come. They wanted KD on that team after beating them 3-1, and then losing to LeBron 3-1 from a 3-1 series.
Stop saying LeBron. LeBron and Kyrie. Let's understand what Kyrie's done. But
I'm just saying.
We gotta just say Kyrie and LeBron because that's a dynamic duo. I mean, we really could throw Kevin Love in there, but that's neither here nor there. As far as KD being a leader, there's multiple ways to be a leader. He's not the best leader. He's not the leader that these top 10 guys of all time are. He's not that. So we need to stop talking about that. As far as top 15, top 20, top, he's in there, and he's a leader in his own right because he leads by example. He's consistent. That's a way of being a leader. He shows up. That's a way of being a leader. Let's not act like he has to be LeBron, Kobe, Jordan, Kareem, Magic. He doesn't have to be that. Kawhi, he doesn't have to be that to be great. Tim Duncan, you think he always spoke up? No, Greg was there to do that. Steph Curry, you think he always speaks up? No, Steve Kerr or Draymond's there to do that. But we don't poo-poo them for not being the leader that Jordan or Kobe. So we can't do that. He is a leader in his own right. Maybe not the leader we want him to be, but he's a leader. You can't get to multiple championships without being a leader, without being able to check yourself. That's a leadership quality.
I mean, he went to a team that already had a championship, and that has won another championship without him, who already had the leadership on the team to take him to the next step.
There's been teams that join together that already won championships. That doesn't guarantee you're going to win it.
100%.
So he had to do his job and being a leader in his own right.
He was the best player on that team. There's no doubt about it. He was the best player on the team.
But what I'm saying is him being the best player on a team is a form of leadership. How consistent he plays is
No, it's not.
You're leading by example. You don't have to open your mouth to be a leader. Follow my lead. Get out the way. That's me being a leader, taking us home. That's a leader. That's a leadership quality. Not everyone can do that. So that's why it's like you have to follow someone's lead. Sometimes you have to follow this guy taking us home. ISO ball sometimes. And he's done that. He's proven he can do that too. That's a form of leadership. It's not what we praise, but it is a form of leadership. Leading by example.
There should have been no reason why he wanted to leave get out of Brooklyn after 2 seasons, and after signing a 4-year contract. Him and Kyrie.
I'm not saying he should leave or want to leave, but he should have a gripe with the people that he expressed he had a gripe with. Steve Nash, X's and O's, trash. Adjustments in the game, trash.
You already had Kyrie Irving coming out saying we don't need a coach. We can coach ourselves.
Well,
and we talked about the importance of the coaching staff and the players. And we both agreed that you kind of need an X's and O's guys because this still is a chess game to help the team, right? And they both didn't even buy into the system. So already they were just it just wasn't it. And he said, "Hey, I want Steve Nash to be the coach." And after 1 season, and to have to
KD did,
having to deal with all of that in his first season as a head coach, you had to deal with James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and KD, the ultimate of superstars.
But you're looking at it from
the ultimate of egos at that as well. You see all the egos in the room.
Egos win. I'm not gonna say Eagles win championships, but most championships are won by ego-driven players, high ego players, and it takes certain coaches to be able to do that. And if he recognized after already winning a championship, winning 2 championships, helping almost win 3 championships, being the reason they lost 1 championship, KD knows potentially what he needs because remember he's the leader on that team right now. He's the number 1 on that team. They look to him. So if he doesn't like the direction of the franchise, if he doesn't like how they're interacting with his co-star, Sean Marks, how you're interacting with Kyrie based off of him not wanting to do certain things during the pandemic and certain things during injustice in the United States, they are on different pages. And because he's a leader, he has a sense of power to flex his power too, just like the owners do, just like the coaches do, just like the GMs that have done since the dawn of the NBA. Now we're in a stage where star players, he's not Jordan, LeBron, Kobe, and them boys, but he's star enough to be able to move the meter a little bit. And he's doing that. Kyrie's doing that. Ben Simmons is doing that. James Harden, too, is doing that. It just so happens to be the wrong coach in the midst of that storm. But if it was a better coach in the midst of that storm, if it was a better news anchor in the midst of that storm, maybe there would be a better outcome of that storm. It's still yet to be determined. But Steve Nash, we can question his leadership abilities.
Okay. Yeah. So, I agree. I will agree to disagree. I can't really say agree to disagree because I totally agree. Leadership, leadership in a way can be in different forms, I should say. And KD does lead by example because he loves to hoop. But as far as a rah-rah guy, he's never going to be that guy. But you're right. This is KD's team, but he needs to. He just needs to continue to do what he does. Play ball, right? And I think he will. I think this team will be at least a fifth seed team in the East behind Boston, behind Milwaukee, behind the Sixers. And there's one other team that I can't get off the top of my head. But at least
the Heat. I know you probably
the
going to
Heat.
say
The Heat.
I don't know. I think they might have a little down year.
They can.
But the Bulls.
The Bulls is a scary team, but I think the Bulls it'll probably be out of the Bulls and the Heat for that.
Right.
Between 4 through 4, 5, and 6, right? It'll be those three teams.
I agree. That's exactly what I think it'll be.
If this team stays healthy, they bring in T.J. Warren, who is a 15-point player, when healthy,
sure.
right? But he has to stay healthy. I think this team needs one more big man, whether it's a JaVale McGee, a Dwight Howard, veterans like that, because I think Dwight is already on the team, and as well as JaVale McGee. But maybe like a Hassan Whiteside, veteran big men that plays defense, because they only got Claxton. They only got Claxton right now, who is a young talent on that team who I think will step up. You still got Seth Curry. You still got Joe Harris, guys that can shoot, right? So this team is capable of winning a championship, but it has to gel. And as long as it can gel and Ben Simmons can get these guys the ball, it's gonna be a scary Brooklyn team.
For sure. You speak on those big men. I definitely agree. And the depth in general, they have a lot of combo guards there, and putting Kyrie on ball, I think is a good idea going forward, as opposed to KD bringing the ball up. Get KD in the post a little bit more. Have Ben Simmons bring the ball up some too. But if Ben Simmons is not in the game, go ahead and stagger the on ball, floor general role to Kyrie and Ben Simmons. And Ben Simmons also learn to play a little bit more big ball. I know he's a perimeter lockdown, but I think, like we was alluding to earlier, I think he can guard some of those big men and be able to play real small ball. Some Warriors death lineup type thing. So the Hampton Five or whatever they was calling them. So I believe that they can do some things. I believe they'll be like the 5th or 4th seed right there with you with that. The Bucks and Boston, I believe, would be their biggest matchups. I believe Ben Simmons can really, not saying he can stop Giannis, but he can give Giannis a little problem with his athleticism and contesting him at the rim and just being a pest in general.
Sure.
Boston, they have gotten more depth, way more depth than Brooklyn has. So I definitely agree with that.
Boston team is getting scary with their depth.
Sure.
And they know, and I love that Boston team because they know their roles. They play well together.
Right. They were that team, that whole organization. I hate to say it as a Laker fan, but right from top to bottom, they're looking great. Players, staff, ownership, like everything.
For sure.
Looking smooth. The fan base, I'm not too much of a fan of y'all, but we'll move on. You ready to move on to the next topic, man?
Yeah, let's do it.
Man, we talking prime time and we ain't talking Deion Sanders, man. You ready to get into this thing, man?
I like it.
Who your favorite player in his prime, man? Who is it?
I'm actually gonna have you. I'm gonna have you start this one.
Okay. I'm gonna start with my boy Russell Westbrook, the triple-double god, the triple-double king. Oscar, move aside. I'm so sorry.
Ooh.
All due respect, Oscar. You know what I'm saying?
Gotta respect the greats.
For sure. we're gonna talk about Russell Westbrook, man. And before I get into it, Russ, too much, I want to define prime a little bit. For me, prime is not a certain time in your career when you were at your best with numbers or you look the best, the eye test. No, it's a point in time based off of age from about 27 years old to 33 years old. That's it for me. That's your prime. That's a player's prime. And so Westbrook just turned 33. Well, he's 33, 34. His first year with the Lakers, he was 33 years old. So that means Westbrook's prime is over. Like, we're done. It's done for. But in the midst of his prime, he was something to behold, honestly. We're talking about someone who did it after KD, someone who did it before Paul George, someone who was the second best scorer or shooter on his team religiously, someone who isn't a prolific shooter at that. And he was able to get this team to the playoffs year in and year out and compete year in and year out without a jumper, year in and year out as the Energizer Bunny we all know and love, Russell Westbrook. You're talking about triple-double God here. With the Wizards, he did it. People don't want to talk about the Wizards here with Bradley Beal. People don't want to talk about year after year having a new star to interact with, to coexist with, when it's already hard for him to coexist because of his lack of skill. Russell Westbrook needs to be up there and recognized and not critiqued for what he's doing outside his prime, but praised for what he did inside of his prime, because we will never see another Russell Westbrook. It took us it feels like hundreds of years. I ain't that old, but it feels like a long time since we've seen someone be able to average a triple-double. We're talking about generations. Our grandparents, come on now. Yeah. That's a long time now. So we talking about Luka Doncic, someone who has potential to do that. LeBron James, who has potential to do that, who had potential to do that. The Joker. Now, a lot of people have potential, but to actually go do it. And we talk about past that and this, past that and that. Even if people decided to have the mentality of a pad statter, do you have the ability, the capability of a 6'3" force to go get 10 boards a game?
Yeah, in order to get rebounds, you gotta want to get rebounds.
And I'm just getting started with the 10 assists a game with the roster that you are the second best or the best shooter on the squad at any given night. Yeah, that is hard to do. Very. Pass that and assist? How? He still has to make it. Andre Roberson, I'm gonna hear that. So next we're gonna get into we'll segue into your favorite. Who's your guy?
Yeah, my favorite. You're gonna like this one, man.
What's up?
Dwight Howard, man. I don't think too many people know who Dwight. I would say the younger guys, but because we know, if you know, you know, right? Mm-hmm. Dwight Howard was the guy you wanted on your team as far as a defensive monster. You're talking about a guy that is a multiple defensive player of the year in his prime, who was. At one point, they were saying he was Shaq. He took Shaq's name to Superman at one point.
Yo,
we was calling Dwight Superman, who brought that Orlando Magic's team full of shooters. Right? They were shooting that ball. They had Rashard Lewis. They had Hedo Turkoglu, Maurice Petrus, Jameer Nelson was a problem on that team. Mm-hmm. I think JJ Redick was on that team, right? Mm-hmm. Brought that team full of shooters to the NBA Finals at one point. He didn't get his ring until later in his career, but we're talking about a dominant defender in this league at one point. Easily a Hall of Famer. I want to give it to Dwight because in his prime, he was a monster, man.
A true monster, man. A true monster. His defensive abilities were out this world, man. His athleticism was crazy. Yo, like seeing him just not evolve in a sense, because I feel like he's always been the same type of guy, the fun loving guy, you know what I'm saying? Like, he gonna come and shoot from half court before every game, but you know what you're gonna get out of him, you know what I'm saying? If he's healthy, he's that guy. Yeah. And it was great to see him get a championship. Even though it was a bubble championship, how you would say.
Yeah, but, bubble championship.
I'm proud he was able to do that, and appreciate not going Shaq on us or anything like that. Kobe would have really had to do something to you back in '09. But anywho, we're going to get into that's a perfect segue for me because we're going to talk about the best player in their prime, in my opinion.
Nice.
And that's Kobe Bean. We ain't talking about 99 Bean. We talking about Kobe Bean. Kobe Bean.
Hey, shout out her too, man.
Oh, yeah. Shout out, baby Nana. Appreciate you peeing on the potty for the first time. Appreciate that. Much love. Proud of you, baby. So, we talking about Kobe Bean. And we got Kobe Bean in his prime right when Shaq said, I'm out of here. I'm going with D-Wade. Kobe, to me, was in his prime from 27 to 33. And in that time, we seen him not have what he needed to win championships. We seen him with Smush Parker, Kwame Brown, Chris Mims, Sasa Vujacic, Luke Walton. But once he was able to get Pau Gasol, good player, real good, solid player, we even go great. Pau Gasol's a great player. Anyway, with that being said, he went not only to 2 championships, but to 3 Western Conference appearances against what I would like to call a super team. Rondo, Ray, Paul Pierce, and KG. They lost in the first year. The second year, Pau Gasol was there, but for the first year that the Boston got together, and then they beat Orlando. You got Dwight Howard, and then they were able to get their revenge on the Boston Celtics in 2010. But Kobe, before the championships, when he was playing with Smush Parker, Kwame Brown, he was able to, in his 27th year, average 35 points per game, while also being on the all-first team defense of team that year. Kobe Bryant was a dog. Number 8, dog. 2-4, a crazy dog. We're talking about the Black Mamba, who was born because I believe Shaq said, I'm about here. If Shaq wasn't a part of the Black Mamba, I feel like my fault. If Shaq wasn't a part of the Lakers, I feel like we see the Black Mamba sooner. But because of that, it was a little delayed. Shaq was able to win 3 championships, make it to 4 championships with a young Kobe, 21-year-old, 22-year-old, and 23-year-old Kobe. And in that span, Kobe, especially at 22, he was able to average 28.5 points per game at 22. And then also take over games in the postseason. When I say take over, I mean without Shaq. But even with Shaq, he was considered the closer because of his great and elite ability. And that's why the ability plus the defensive locked-in mentality, the Mamba mentality, the leadership, not running away from a challenge, but embracing it and facing it and not running to other megastars, running to other leaders, running to other guys who've proven it. Kobe was able to do that in a time frame where he was doing it with guys who looked like Mike, not guys who were wishing they can be like Mike, like Clyde or Dominique or Gary Payton or Penny. We're talking or mad centers in the league that wish they could do the things Jordan did. Kobe faced guys like that. The Ray Allens, the Vince Carters, the LeBron Jameses of the world. We're talking about Tim Duncan, another guy who's a leader in his own right. Jordan, a lot of times, was facing guys who didn't have that just yet. Who Jordan had year in and year out an advantage. We didn't see that with Kobe, post Shaq. Jordan never had the adversity. The bad boy Pistons is the most. But when we talk about prime, we're talking about prime time real estate. We're talking about prime time play. We have to bring up the guy that we potentially talk about as GOAT more so than any other player, and that's Michael Jordan. So with that being said, for me, it's Kobe Bean Bryant. Salute. What's up?
Definitely salute to Kobe. R.I.P. Kobe, gone way too soon. And I'm glad you brought up Mike because Mike is my personal favorite as far as the best of their prime. And you hit it right on the money. Your prime age is typically between 27 and 33. Mine was very slightly under it. It was just 26 to 32. Hey, it's pretty much the same thing, right?
Rock with.
And when Jordan broke out, right, because he played in a very, very tough era as far as physicality. And when he broke through and got through the bad boy Pistons finally and won his first three-peat, and that team did go three-peat at the age of 28, 29, 30, right? Still in your prime, right? You then take 2 years off. So that brings us to 33, 34, 35. So outside of his prime years, quote unquote prime years, Jordan then won another three-peat, right? The ultimate winner, a guy that makes the game just look so easy. It looks like it was just natural for him. The way he was Air Jordan, literally Air Jordan. Every time he goes up for a layup and he spins around or he up and under, it just looks it looks fake, right?
Really do.
The way he's able to glide through the air, right? His mid-range game was crazy because at that point the three really wasn't as popular as it is now, right? So his mid-range was crazy. His willingness to love, but also not only did he love you, he wanted to dominate you. No matter who you were, you could be his best friend. He just wanted to. He just had that killer mentality. If you on the other team, hey, just like football, between these lines, we ain't friends. But after this, hey, let's go have a drink. Let's go hang out, right? And you know that's why he is the GOAT. 6-0 in the NBA Finals, multiple scoring titles, multiple a Defensive Player of the Year, MVP. The brand, Air Jordan, man. That's the guy for me to have to maximize his what am I trying to say? To maximize his greatness during his prime.
I'm glad you said that because there was a teammate who helped maximize his greatness during his prime.
Oh, for sure.
Before his prime, after his prime. We're talking about one of the greatest players of all time as well. Top 50 player ever. Scottie Pippen. Someone who's versatile. You know me, I'm going to bring up that V word, versatility. And for me, Scottie Pippen is one of the most versatile players in the NBA at that time, this time, or any time. Scottie Pippen was before his time as well. He wasn't like Mike, but he was like a lot of other guys. He wasn't Clyde Drexler in my eyes. He wasn't Gary Payton in my eyes. Penny Hardaway, Grant Hill. He wasn't that to me either. But the way you construct a team, in my eyes, to get to championship faster is two elite wings. Two guys who can bang with the big boys, go punish somebody, create a mismatch there, and also do elite things with the guards and guarding guards and doing guard things on the perimeter. Wings can do that more so than a center, more so than a guard. So when you have two elite wings in an era where there aren't any other elite wing duos, you have an advantage. There were a lot of centers. It was a center era. Yes, it was a very difficult era. Even in the 80s, Jordan came up in that era too. He didn't win anything in the 80s, but he accomplished a lot in the 80s. You're talking about the Defensive Player of the Year. You're talking about multiple All-Star game appearances, 10 scoring titles, I think, in a row. This guy was dominant in a different fashion. But we're not going to speak on Jordan and his GOAT status without speaking on Scottie Pippen and how he helped him become GOAT before this guy Bean came around. Bean didn't have the versatile guy next to him.
He had Shaq.
I'm not done. Yes, he had Shaq.
Come on, man.
What did Jordan do without Scottie?
Come on.
Oh, my fault. So as far as Shaq,
first of all,
Shaq
he was young. He was young. Jordan was young before he had Scottie.
Yeah. And Shaq had a young Kobe.
Yeah.
So he won with, right. So my thing is, with a young Scottie, Jordan did, and with a young Scottie, Jordan did what?
They didn't win rings yet, but
Scottie proved more without Jordan than Jordan did without Scottie. Scottie Pippen was one game away from the NBA Finals. When I say one game, I mean literally. They lost Game 7 of the NBA Finals without Michael Jordan.
Okay, but
without Dennis Rodman.
Shaq won one ring with D Wade at
someone
Miami,
Kobe and Alonzo Mourning.
Yeah, but Alonzo was way out of his prime then.
But he was a way better defender than Shaq was at that time.
Okay, but Shaq won one ring after Kobe, and Kobe won 2 rings after Shaq.
So what are we talking about?
I mean, at the end of the day, they both great.
And he went to 3. Yes, he also went with Penny, and what he accomplished with a young Penny. Because we got to understand, Michael Jordan did nothing. He didn't win one championship. We get on LeBron all the time for not winning a championship without D Wade or without another dynamic wing duo, but he did that with AD. You want to say 2020 bubble? 2020 bubble. I want to say championship. Regardless of your situation, it's a championship.
Bubble championship.
Still, and let's not count the bubble championship. Then that means Jordan and LeBron didn't win anything without an elite wing beside them. An elite wing is the most, again, versatile position on the court. He can kill you from the perimeter. He can be a closer. Take us home. We can't say, Shaq, here, take us home when we're down by 3. We can't say, here, Pau Gasol, take us home when we're down by 3. We can't do that. But the fact that we can with Kyrie Irving, the fact that we could with D Wade, the fact that we could with Scottie Pippen. I'm not saying Scottie Pippen's Kyrie or D Wade as far as his closing ability, because actually Tony Kukoc was called on to close the game out as opposed to Scottie Pippen. But Scottie Pippen has that ability more so in his package, in his overall package on any given day, more so than a big. When you have a guard and a big together, I believe that's the second best duo you can have after the 2 elite wings. But with that being said, that guard has to be able to close, because the center position, unless you're talking about Joel Embiid, there's not many 3-level bigs ever. So when we're down by 3, now we're in a predicament here. When we need a free throw, we can't just call on you because they might hack you. Then what? When you're afraid to go to the free throw line? So LeBron,
I don't think Shaq was afraid to go to the free throw line. I just think he just couldn't shoot free throws.
When I say afraid, I mean the coaching staff. When we're saying we're going to draw up a play for somebody, ain't going to be Shaq. If we're down by 1 or 2, maybe. But we're talking about someone who's elite everywhere. Having 2 of them on the court at the same time, who can take a shot from anywhere on the court at the same time, that's an elite ability within your team. And Kobe ain't had that too much, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, we're gonna have to leave that topic for another day. So let's definitely get into our last topic. What we got?
So we're gonna go with what they need. What do they need in the NFL? We're gonna talk about 2 teams, 2 contenders, and 2 teams that are on the other side of contention. Maybe rebuild, retool, reboot, whatever you want to call it. We're gonna talk about it. Who's your 2 coach? Cuz, what's up?
So we're gonna start off with the contenders. My first 2 contenders and what they need. First, I'm gonna go with the Buffalo Bills. Our Super Bowl picks. I'm gonna say it here. There's gonna be a Saints-Bills Super Bowl with the Bills coming out on top.
You lost me.
So Saints-Bills Super Bowl. That's what it's gonna be this year, with the Bills coming out on top. But this team, no. Matter of fact, take that hoodie off. So,
no chill.
So what I will say is, this team is a complete team. They go and get Kareem Elam in the draft. Great pick. Big corner to go ahead and go with your all-pro Tre'Davious White. So now you got 2 potential lockdown corners on the outsides. You still got Jordan Poyer. You say safety is the number 2 most important position on the football field. Well, they got one. They got a guy back there. You got Tremont Edmonds, who's in the middle, very young linebacker, side to side, that can get a bunch of tackles. And you got a edge rush now. You already had one, but you add Von Miller to that pack, to that crew, and you bring in a 2-time Super Bowl winner and an NFL vet in Von Miller that can still get to the quarterback. And you add that to that football team. Josh Allen, who will win MVP this year, still got him. He's a guy. Gabriel Davis, mark my words, this guy will be a touchdown machine this year. You still got Stephon Diggs. There's 2 things this team got to do. You got to find a way to get the run game going. One of these guys got to hit. Maybe it's James Cook, right? Maybe it's James Cook. Maybe it's Singletary finally. Or Zach Moss. Who knows? But one of these guys got to step up, because I can't have Josh Allen be the focal point of my run game. I want to protect, I want to protect the prize. I want to protect the franchise right there, right? And number 2, this team has to win big games. When you have a lead like you did as far as Kansas City, you got to get over that hump. You got to win that game. That game is too close for you not to win. So again, when you get into the playoffs, the big games have to be won. Number 2, another contender. I'm gonna go ahead and go Green Bay. I'm gonna say Green Bay. You got the defense, right? You get Jair Alexander healthy. You got a good front seven. This offense has to find a way to put points on the board. There's no more Devontae Adams on this team. Whether it's and I think this team is going to be a run first offense. I think that you do have a 1-2 punch with Aaron AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones. I'm not saying Aaron Jones is Alvin Kamara, but when I looked at Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram, the way they were a 1-2 punch, I look at this. I look at these two as being very similar, right?
I like it.
So you got to find a way to get them going, and then Aaron Rodgers does what he does, right? He gets these young guys the football. Hopefully, one of them can step up and take the reins. Not saying any of them are Devontae Adams, but hey, we need some production from this receiving core, this young receiving core, and so that's what they need, man. They got to get the run game going.
True.
Would you too?
If they don't get that run game going, we got them Vikings. The Vikings, they are in win now mode to me because of honestly Devontae Adams being unbeatable. Right. With Adams gone and Aaron Rodgers potentially out the door too. We don't know him. I know he resigned. We don't know with him. We don't know. He could pull a KDA. I'm out of here. You know what I'm saying? So as far as that, I believe the Vikings need to retool in a sense going forward. But think that right now is a win now mode. It's a win now year. And when I say retool is because the Kirk Cousins, and that's later on after this year, Kirk Cousins' contract and Justin Jefferson, I just don't feel like, he's coming up. Jefferson's contract is going to come up. If you're able to retool before those things happen, even this year, if you're able to do certain things to make your chances rise a little bit more because the division's a little worse, I think it could really help you out, make some trades and get a little bit more help in there before the money becomes a problem. That team, they just need to stay healthy. If Cooks, which is their best player in my eyes, if he's able to stay healthy, he's able to give that Alvin Kamara dimension. Well, their run game isn't that of the Saints or the Green Bay Packers, but the threats, the multiple threats on the outside helps the run game loosen up a little bit. And I think they can take advantage more regardless if Cooks is there or not. So that's my team, my first team, the Vikings. It is win now mode for this year, and it's retool mode going forward if they aren't able to do it. 49ers is my next team. It is time for them. You talk about a team that is properly constructed, a team that is poised for a deep playoff run. They give challenges to the defending champs, the Rams. They give them a challenge. I would take their coach over Sean, the other Sean. And day.
The real Sean?
The real Sean's in Bill Ruffalo. The fake Sean McVay, is going against Kyle Shanahan. I believe Kyle Shanahan will win that 8 times out of 10 with a worse quarterback. And you're talking about someone, Trey Lance, who potentially can be better than Matthew Stafford going forward, especially due to Matthew's age. Matthew has a lot of weapons, but so does Trey. Trey has the second best tight end in my eyes in the league. A very versatile position. As far as Deebo Samuels as well, he's a versatile receiver. Sometimes you might see him in the backfield. Sometimes you might see him throw it. You can consider him this backup quarterback for the 49ers. With that being said, and then Nick Bosa and the defense, the front seven getting after the way they do, I can see the 49ers being a well-rounded team and challenging the Bills for the best roster in the league. So those are my 2 teams for contention. 2 teams that need to go all in now, or, wait until them rookie contracts are coming up and have to figure out then, which I believe is the hardest time to do so.
Nice. I like it. I definitely like that 49ers pick. Now, as far as my 2 teams that are in rebuild mode, or should they be in win now mode, I'm going to first say my Atlanta Falcons. As many might know, I am an Atlanta Falcons fan, but I really like Arthur Smith. I love the fact that he will play guys, the best players that are ready to play. So when we bring in a guy like Eric Harris last year that played free safety for the Raiders, who really didn't play much, but he gets and beats out a guy like a young safety and plays well for us. I like that. A Cordell Patterson, who he was able to revamp his career, have the best career year of have his best year as far as overall for a career. And he's breaking out as a 31-year-old player, right? So you drafted Tyler Algier, who is a big body running back who played for a BYU team as a walk-on and led the NCAA in rushing touchdowns. You get him. You get ahead and get a guy in Troy Anderson who won awards at Montana State at quarterback, running back, and linebacker. So this guy is a guy you can just tell loves football, right? He just goes out, he works hard, and he goes and gets it. So you bring in a guy like that in the second round. You get ahead and solidify a pass rush. You get the guy from Penn State, which is nice, who was slept on. And you don't overreach for Desmond Ridder. That was very important. You get him in the third round. He was on our draft board. So you get ahead and get him, and he could potentially be the future. You bring in a guy like Marcus Mariota. Hopefully he's able to revamp his career a little bit, who you coached and who knows your system, who is a bridge quarterback, right? I'm not going to say he's a really good quarterback because, we just haven't seen it from Marcus. But I hope he can, at least get us to 7 to 9 wins, right? That'll be very important for him. You're bringing a guy like Casey Hayward to go alongside and teach AJ Terrell how to be the ultimate vet, because Casey has been a very good corner in this league. You still got Deion Jones and you still got Grady from the old regime, but those are damn near the two best players besides Matt Ryan and Julio Jones that was on those football teams. So you get ahead and get the twin that they call them I-85 in my man Kyle Pitts and Drake London. So you got that right there. You got the two big threats. These guys, I'm excited to see what they can do. You never know what we do with Calvin Ridley. Maybe we keep him next year. Maybe we trade him. But if he does come back, man, this guy can run routes and create space, and he's a touchdown magnet, man. He finds the end zone. So if you can get him incorporated back with this team is going to play hard, man. You're going to watch them play hard. They definitely still have to find a way to protect Marcus, but at least he's a lot more versatile than Matt Ryan was because the O-line is still really bad. And I think if this team can step up and again win another 7 to 9 games, that's solid, because now we can build other pieces. Next year, this team is going to have some cap space finally. In the last 4 to 5 years, this team has had no money to spend because all the money has went to 3 players, Matt Ryan and Julio and Grady. So now you got some cap space finally, and I think this team is moving in the right direction. Give them about 2 years. Woo, we're going to be back, baby. Atlanta's going to be back. Hot Atlanta.
Yo, man, oh man. Yo, what's your last rebuild team, man? What's up?
My last rebuild team. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and say the Panthers, man. I'm gonna keep it in the division. I like Baker Mayfield. I like his tenacity, his feistiness. He just loves to compete, and that's what I want in my quarterback. But he got to win games. You can be but so much of a rah-rah guy, but we gotta put it on the field. It has to show on the field. You got some weapons. Hopefully CMC can stay healthy finally, who's a great running back in this league. You got DJ Moore, you got Robbie Anderson, right? You got a very young defense. You talked about Patrick Surtain, I think last episode. And JC Horn, man. JC Horn, watch out for him. You got the safety in Jeremy Chin. You got Dante, I think his name is Dante Jackson, who's a speedster at corner. So this team is young. You get ahead and solidify a tackle at picking him up, Charles Cross, in the first round. So you get ahead and get yourself a tackle, right? So this team is kind of moving in the right direction. But as we talk about with a lot of other teams like the Jacksonville Jaguars, the Cleveland Browns, i.e. the Lakers nowadays, it all starts from the top. This Panthers organization is, from up top, is not a good organization. So you fix that, and I think it'll trickle down to the players because you got some young talent there to get you over the edge. And we can't forget about the young edge rushers as far as Brian Burns and I think I can't get his name, but it's Yashir Motos from Penn State, who's actually a really good player as well.
And I actually like what you were saying about the Falcons. They need to potentially see about, talking to you about some of their moves going forward because it sounds really good going forward. It sounds really good over there in Atlanta. It's not too far away. I wouldn't mind going to Atlanta and checking out some games.
Oh, yeah.
That's my second/third home, New England, Tampa. And Atlanta, after that Super Bowl,
man,
that's my other spot. So I wouldn't mind checking them out if they were, if y'all get up, you know what I'm saying. But I'm gonna stay in that division with the Panthers with you. I believe it's rebuild, reset, retool time for the Carolina Panthers. Get the assets you have now before they dwindle down in value. Go ahead and get Christian out of there. The injuries are a little too much for my liking. It's not like you have something around that running back position that's not that valuable. To make the most of it. The coaching staff is in question. The quarterbacks have been in question. You have a lot of depth there, so go ahead and let them get out there this year, show what they can do a little bit, and get them out on the market before it's too late. Before you lose assets, as opposed to getting comparable or ideal assets going forward for what you have now. All the weapons we spoke on, I'm not saying trade them all. I'm saying use some of them as a core, create a core, and maybe your Legion of Boom on the back end. Maybe your receivers, you let Robbie Anderson go, and keep Baker, keep the chemistry intact, something like that. I'm not really sure. The line is being worked on. It's been an issue for years. But I believe they can use those assets to create a situation the Cowboys had a couple years ago with the elite line they had. Do something like that and sacrifice now so that you go in later. And from there, I go to them Giants, the New York Football Giants. It is rebuild time for them. Trade those assets as well. We talk about another running back who's injured, who I believe just by name, just similar to Christian McCaffrey, he'll be able to get a lot of pull in the market. I believe you trade him along with your injury-prone receivers. You should have traded Elvin Ingram before you got out of there. But you should trade these guys before they get out there. A lot of them, I'm sure, on 1 2 year deals because I feel like New York has been in rebuild mode for a long time. But they need to reset it even maybe up top. I know they have a new coach in there, and I believe a new GM too, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not really sure. I believe he's been there for a while. But anywho, the Giants need a reset button, and I believe it starts with Daniel Jones as well. Daniel Jones has a lot to like if you're a team like, I don't know, you got all these offensive gurus out here. If Trey Lance wasn't there, I'm sure Kyle Shanahan would love Daniel Jones' legs. Daniel Jones is a project. He has a pocket presence problem. He has fumbling issues. That's not just due to Daniel Jones. That's because y'all haven't put enough around him. The rebuild that was going on wasn't doing Daniel Jones justice. Even the coach, even Joe Judge coming into that situation, he's a part of the rebuild fiasco there. But at the same time, Daniel Jones as a quarterback needs to be the focal point. And I've never seen, or I've rarely seen, a quarterback be built in the way, quarterback team be built in the way that the Giants have done in the last couple of years.
Yeah. You think they need to give Daniel Jones another shot? And I think that they need to get Daniel Jones right up out the door. Put Tyrod in there, man. Long-time vet in this league. And just go for the ride, man. Just understand that this is going to be a bad...
That smells like tank.
Yeah, that's exactly what they need to do. They got two really good draft picks this year.
Wow.
The guy from Oregon and then Evan Neal, who's one of my favorites, who I think is going to be a really good tackle in this league. Multiple All-Pros. Just watch. And, but, we spoke about this before with this Giants team is what's going on in that training room. Because none of these guys can stay healthy, whether it's the receivers, whether it's the running backs, whether it's the tight ends. Everyone just finds a way to get hurt in this Giants organization. So let's see. You're right. They're in rebuild mode, and they need to blow up the house, man. Get everybody out of there, get some fresh talent in there, and you guys should be good moving forward.
Facts. Wait, you got? I'm about to say.
Nah, the Giants, man. Giants, man.
Well,
Giants, man.
yeah, I definitely agree, man. Definitely.
But this was
a good one, man.
This was definitely a good one, man.
For sure.
Definitely a good one.
Started off with a bang.
We appreciate y'all. Yep, we appreciate y'all for tuning in.
Mm-hmm.
Until next time, peace.
We out.
Solid.
This that COMEUP. Stand back while I do me. I'm the King James of this era. Do my best to be 2-3. You see the metaphoric beat destroying MC. They had to wait his turn, sit and learn from the OGs, but slowly I had myself out like a slowly get take paper to make paper. So I'm speaking from this loose leaf. Damn. I ain't even gotta talk about it. They said you public in the basement, but your songs is private. Bring back the monster, the one that you keep locked in. Shit, I ain't gotta score the points. Look at John Stockton. I put my niggas on just so they can make a profit. But for now, I ain't get up and play that monster in the closet.